Hey there, internet friends, and welcome to That D Plus Show. Class is in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions. If you like the show, we would love it if you like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Joining me this week, we have Logan Wilkinson. How you doing, Logan?
I'm doing good. Pleasure.
Excellent. We're in for a better time this time around than Return to Halloween Town last week.
That's true. Can confirm.
The very rare double F from us.
Yeah. That'd be such an interesting one for them to like break out all the
I'm never gonna go back through and do like a doc of like, here's what everybody gave, everything we've done.
We should have started at the jump on that, right?
Over our 190 some odd episodes. For a while, I did track like who was on each episode. But even that I haven't updated in.
Gosh, we could have called it the grade book.
Yeah,
ooh, that's good.
And that is also joining us, returning from his cowardice, Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cameron?
Hey, coward back, let's go.
To go back to the grade book, which is a great name, Pat and Pindon. I really, the trick about it too is that because you'd have to just like go to the last like 5 or 10 minutes, and so it'd be so hard to like pinpoint. It's not like just like an easy spot to like pinpoint when exactly that is in each episode.
Sure. I mean, that does make it easier. The fact that it's the end of every episode, it's a matter of like,
not the exact time. Just
it's right before the outro, which the outro is usually a couple minutes. So yeah, it would basically be okay. Scrub through the last 10 minutes of any episode and find what everybody gives a thing. But yeah,
I know that for Bond. You did.
I had like a few ongoing tracker sheet kind of things just in the docs themselves. Yeah. And I did the same thing. I was when I was talking to Cameron after we recorded. We're talking about Haunted Mansion, by the way. We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, after we talked about Return to Halloween Town last week, I talked to Cameron because I did a similar thing with when we did our Summer of Star Wars, where like I had the doc for the Summer of Star Wars stuff, but then I had like kind of our overall rankings in a separate thing to see like how our rankings changed week to week kind of thing. But yeah, have not bothered doing that anywhere else. No. And I don't even know, I don't even know where that doc is anymore. So anyway, yes, talking all about Haunted Mansion 2023 this week. Not to be confused with the Haunted Mansion episode we did back in 2020, where it was Logan and I talking about the Eddie Murphy
2003 one, I believe.
Yeah. Or Muppets Haunted Mansion, which Frank and I did a couple years ago in 2021. This is Haunted Mansion that came out earlier this year, July 28th, 2023. Other releases of the time, if you listened a couple weeks ago, this is a very familiar list. The Little Mermaid was May 26th. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was June 2nd. Transformers Rise of the Beasts was June 9th. The trio of Elemental, The Flash, and Asteroid City was June 16th, and that's where you may have heard this list before. With our Elemental podcast. No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence was June 23rd. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, June 30th. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, July 12th. Barbie Oppenheimer, The Juggernaut of the Summer, July 21st. And then that was where like that previous list ended, right outside the scope of Haunted Mansion coming out a week later, July 28th, followed by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem on August 2nd.
I need to see that.
Blue Beetle on August 18th.
You see that?
And Gran Turismo on August 25th.
Ooh, we should watch that. We should just watch that.
So
it'll be a fine racing. It's a very by the numbers racing movie.
Yeah, it's also like based off that true story though, right? Where like they had a Gran Turismo kid like become a pro driver.
Yep.
So the thing about that is a buddy of mine was talking the other day about how like he like really loved Gran Turismo apparently. Like it was like actually like he had a really fun time with it. So like I could see that being a movie that is like a fun one to watch, right? But like doesn't take itself too seriously and it's just like it's like a fun racing movie for like 2 hours and it's like it sounds appealing.
Yeah, I mean the last two there, Blue Beetle and Gran Turismo, by all accounts I follow, are very much like by the numbers versions of those movies. Blue Beetle is a very by the numbers superhero origin movie. The little catch that it has, or the gimmick it has, is it's a very, Mexican centric family. And you have, and a lot of people are like, they elevate the movie when they're in it. Yeah. And then all of the superhero stuff that happens is like very bland and paint by numbers kind of stuff. And then Gran Turismo is very similar, kind of like, rags to riches sports story of like, nobody, the underdog rising to the top kind of thing.
It's Rocky. Right.
And so if your mileage will probably vary based on how tropey that ends up being because of how many times you've seen that story or that movie.
I do want to watch the TMNT movie as well. That one looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was good. We Cameron and I saw it. We never did like That Nerdy Site show on it because that was, I think, right before I went to Orlando for
it was.
And so we just didn't have episodes for a couple weeks. And then by the time we came back, it was like we're not gonna revisit that. But yeah,
because it'd been so long since we'd seen it.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah,
because it'd been like 3 weeks since we've seen it. So yeah, it's a really good movie. Like we really enjoyed it. It's fun. It's funny. Fun. Yeah. It has
I like the art style a lot.
The art style, when it first debuted, I was like, I don't care for this, but in seeing it in motion throughout the entire film, it really sold me. But I think my favorite thing about it is that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are actual teenagers and not just like young adults who do kung fu and like pizza and skateboard. And so it's like they eat pizza and they skateboard. It's like, well, that doesn't make them a teenager. Yeah. But they really nail the spirit of like what it means to be a teen, what it means to like want to belong to something and want to be part of like that bigger world. And I think that it absolutely nails it. It's really, really good. Yeah. Does some really wild stuff too. Like it does some wild stuff. It's fun.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it.
So the domestic gross as of today, October 19th, and the movie's like been out of theaters for a while, so this isn't going to drastically change or anything. But the domestic gross for Haunted Mansion here, only $67.5 million. And the worldwide gross only comes in at $116.5 million. So we talked about we talked through the top 10 and stuff back when we did Elemental. So you guys know it's nowhere around the top 10. But where do you guys think this falls domestically here in 2023 with its $67.5 million?
On the lower end of the spectrum, for sure. I don't think it's I don't think it's the worst film of the year, like worst performing film of the year, but it's probably pretty close. I'll say 18.
18 and 23, said Logan. Mm-hmm. So 18 is The Flash. And 23 is The Nun 2, currently in theaters, I believe. So that may even climb up the charts. Haunted Mansion comes in back at number 27.
Yeah. 25th. Yeah.
Yeah. As kind of like where it falls. No Hard Feelings that I mentioned with Jennifer Lawrence came in at number 34. R-rated comedy at $50 million. Not probably, to be expected kind of in this era. The current, it's out there, so this will also probably climb up the ranks, but Paw Patrol The Mighty Movie is currently at $51.1 million.
That's going to climb. That's going to climb so hard.
A couple other movies I know nothing about. Jesus Revolution and Air at 32 and 31.
Ooh, Air is the Ben Affleck, Matt Damon one about them
like Jordan signing Michael Jordan and then Michael Jordan's daughter.
I didn't even know that was released in theaters. I thought that was just a like Amazon Prime exclusive. So that's even mentioned that.
Yep.
I'm sure Amazon Prime exclusive films usually come out in theaters, like in like bigger cities like New York or Seattle and LA.
Sure. I mean, now that you mention it, it had a wide release because of the names attached to it, and because they were gunning for like a sports audience, and it was April, so it was before
people love that movie,
before big like summer blockbuster stuff. So it was just squeezing in there. Number 30, Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Number 29, Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
Number 28, Evil Dead Rise.
Oh, yeah.
Number 27, Haunted Mansion. Just ahead of it, about $5 million, Blue Beetle, number 26. And then, you still have, like, The Taylor Swift Eras Tour that just came out last weekend is sitting at 92.8 million. So it's up at number 21 already. And it will, sadly for Cameron and I, it will knock Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves out of the top 20 here shortly, because it's only 400,000 behind Dungeons and Dragons.
It's so funny you say that though, because I was just looking at my like letterbox list for like the year in movies after watching Haunted Mansion, and I was like, man, Dungeons and Dragons was really good. Like I feel like that's a movie where like I watched it and, you know, everyone talked about it, we all talked about it, and I was like, I really liked it. Like, as someone who knows nothing about D&D. And then I feel like looking back now, God, probably like 6 months almost at this point, it's like I just remember it more and more fondly of being like, that was a really clever, smart, funny movie that isn't necessarily, you know, groundbreaking, but just like does everything it does so well, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a solid like to draw the comparison to like video games. It's a solid like AA movie kind of thing. It's you know they don't really
exist
that era
anymore, right?
that we don't get a ton of those anymore. And obviously they were certainly trying to bank on the name recognition and the franchise and stuff like that, and create a franchise out of it. And it's just, sadly, it didn't hit. But yeah, beyond that, it was also just a really good movie. So yeah, go watch Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves.
To get a sequel, I'd hope.
So switching over to worldwide gross, now that you know that it fell, Haunted Mansion fell number 27 domestically, where do you think it falls worldwide with its 116.5 million?
I'm going to say it did. I'm going to say 25th.
25? All right. Cameron, how about you?
32.
Oh, he went way lower.
32 was A Haunting in Venice. And what did you say?
That's still
Logan?
playing, right?
Yeah, that is. So yes, currently 30.
Yeah, currently right now it's.
Excuse me.
There's there's movies coming out this year still. So.
Yes, currently the.
I want to watch Haunted Venice. I liked all the Agatha Christie, Kenneth Branagh, Hercule Poirot movies.
Yeah. I haven't.
Except for the second.
I haven't seen Death on the Nile.
See, that's the thing. I talked to Trevor about this. I feel like a weird amount about. I've talked to Trevor a lot about that one. Where it's like that movie. Part of me actually likes it more than his interpretation of Murder in the Orient Express. The only issue with Death in the Nile is that
the Army Hammer effect.
There were all the stories about like them potentially like reshooting it to get around Army Hammer, and then having watched the movie, it's like, oh, I see why they didn't do that, because they would have had to reshoot the entire movie. He's like an integral key part of the film, and I was like, oh, that's why they didn't. And I will not lie, every time Army Hammer's on screen, it's like, oh, this is like a weird like taking me out of the movie thing.
It's because he's like a super creep, right?
Yeah, and like maybe like he's like into like cannibalism, like as like a fetish and stuff. And it's like a whole.
I know that like it came out like it turns out he's from like a really like fucked up family.
I don't know anything about
on top of that, like he's like
we probably don't need to go super deep down the Army Hammer rabbit hole.
I was gonna be like,
just look up some stuff.
Speaking of messed up families, let's talk about Haunted Mansion.
Well, you said 25, right, Logan?
Yes.
Now that I'm back and can speak again.
Yeah.
So 25, Shazam! Fear of the Gods did better worldwide. Cameron, you were close. Haunted Mansion came in and is currently at number 31. So yeah, you were
very close.
If Haunting in Venice manages to bring in another 5 million worldwide, you will have been spot on the money, as that will bump it down. Right around there, Gran Turismo, that we were just talking about, at number 30. And yeah, Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, worldwide has already outgrossed Haunted Mansion here as well.
Yeah, it did huge. Yeah.
It's going to continue doing huge.
Yeah.
I can't go this week. I want to try to put together like a group or like a crew.
I want to see it too.
To go see it, because I don't want to go into the like. I've heard that there are two kinds of theater audiences you get: people who sit in their chair and just watch the movie, and the other people are the ones who are like making it the concert going experience.
Yeah.
I want the concert going experience.
I agree.
I was working as a sub at the time the tickets went on sale. I couldn't afford it, and even though I even tried to like get into it anyway, and I couldn't get past the wait list either. So like it was not going to work out for me. I want to go. I want to make a friendship bracelet. I want to exchange friendship bracelets with people. I want that experience. I want to listen to the bangers that Taylor Swift puts out.
Bops, man.
I mean, I've not heard of the first experience.
I've only heard the second one too. As well,
I've only heard raucous crowds and stuff.
I here's the thing. I've heard both. Granted, like a lot of it's like a question of like what kind of audience it is. I've heard though, like, but at this point, if you're going, you want to be part of that like raucous crowd experience.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Like you want to do the sing along. You want to get like I saw a video of a bunch of like teen girls in a circle just singing and dancing singing along with the songs and dancing, and they had glow sticks and friendship bracelets, and it's like I want that experience.
Yeah. That vibe.
I want that vibe. I want to like, but I don't want to go alone. Like I don't want to be like why is this 34-year-old man just in this movie theater?
I mean, I watched Dan Murrell, who Cam knows from the movie Trivia Schmodown stuff, movie critic. He went and saw it and he's older than me, I think, like a year or two older than me. And the crowd was incredibly warm and welcoming to him. The only people that kind of judged him and gave him a side eye were like the ushers at the movie theater, but everybody else was like super welcoming Swifties. Yeah, have fun.
It's because Swifties are the best.
Yeah,
they're the best.
Unless they turn on you.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Unless you date and break Taylor Swift's heart, yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, that. Although I will say, nothing is better than
tinfoil. Or unless you're Kanye West.
Yeah. There's nothing better than tinfoil hat Swifties. Because the connections they make, it is
no
fantastic.
One's better detective. Yeah,
nobody's better detectives than Swifties. They're so good.
One of my favorite things to that point is just like how like all the different like memes of like how into football and like how like Taylor Swift fans like figured out football within like a week of like her like and Travis Kelce being a thing, and like them being like, oh, they're doing like a offset pass block right here. Number 9's gonna go like just like breaking down like the whole thing, and like they like once they like get into a thing, they're gonna get into it more than anyone else in the world.
Oh yeah, and not only that, but Travis Kelce and his brother, who like his brother's a center for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
And so like they have a podcast they do together, and it's
really good actually.
It's really good. It's really good. And my favorite thing in the world is just like how nonchalant like they'll bring it, like Taylor and I were like it's like heck yeah. And what I love, I think, and I'm just speaking for myself as somebody who has like observed it. I will say that I'm a bit of I want Taylor to be happy. I want her to find love and like find what she's always needed in her life to make her feel whole. And I hope that works out for her. But if it doesn't, I cannot wait for the album that's based off of the Travis Kelce relationship, because it's going to be a fun album. Their relationship is just nothing but lots of fun. It's not red carpets. It's all about just the good, happy, chill vibes. And like one of my favorite things is people are like the photos of her speaking to like his parents in the Chiefs like VIP box.
Donna Kelce,
yeah, Mama Kelce's great. It's Papa Kelce when like their dad. They roasted their dad so hard when they talked about the photo of him talking like, can you imagine what Dad's even talking to her about? And just like, it's really fun. I love it. We should probably get back to the movie that we're supposed to talk about.
I mean, speaking of movies, I will say there is also a documentary called Kelce that came out a month ago, basically on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
it's like the documentary has just kind of like struck a lot of gold on this thing because, and again, I'm pulling that directly from Dan Murrell too, but it's based off of like last season where the Kelce brothers end up, going against each other in the Super Bowl. So just perfect timing and kismet for that. And then as it actually comes out, Travis Kelce is like the most popular search in the world. So yeah, fascinating timing for that Amazon Prime documentary.
I've been a fan of Travis Kelce since he did SNL.
Mm-hmm.
He did some of the best SNL like hosting that I've seen in a long time. One of my favorite ones is Straight Best Friend, where it's
yeah, it's extremely good.
yeah, where I forgot his name, but he is the first openly like queer guy on SNL.
Bone Yang.
Bone Yang, yeah.
Yeah.
Bone Yang, he does it where he goes like, oh, he's like playing the gay character, and he goes like, I love my besties, talking about like his female friends. And he goes, there's something amazing about having a straight best guy friend. And Travis Kelce plays like the most atypical bro.
There's no emotional commitment. Yeah.
He goes, hey man, sorry he goes, hey, are you okay? Yeah, man, like you're real upset. Like, yeah, what happened? Like, my dad died this weekend. And just like this
it's dead silence.
Mic drop moment. And then later goes, hey, sorry about being such a pussy about my dad dying.
All right.
It's very good.
What if I'm thinking about moving to Europe for like 5 years. Cool. Hit me up when you're back.
Yeah, that's the one for me. Yeah.
Just so good. You want to go get some wings?
Yeah. It's really, it's a great skit.
Nice. Yeah. The Please Don't Destroy skit is also very good, where he's their self-defense instructor. And he like murders people.
Cool. Yes, back to Haunted Mansion now. Movie has a runtime of 2 hours and 3 minutes. In our Disney live action timeline of things, we had Peter Pan and Wendy came to Disney Plus back in April 28th.
No idea.
That was a thing? Okay.
I believe that's the one with Jude Law as Captain Hook.
That was a film? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it was a straight to Disney Plus, but yes, it was it was live action. Little Mermaid was May 26th. World's Best was a Disney Plus live action thing June 23rd, which I believe features Utkarsh Ambudkar, a very fun hip hop improviser and stuff like that. He was in Free Guy. He was the Mouse and Keys, one of those duo in Free Guy. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny came out June 30th. Haunted Mansion here, July 28th. Up next is a Disney Plus Christmas movie called Dashing Through the Snow. And then slated next March 22nd. We'll see if this actually hits. We have the Snow White movie. So yeah, we'll see, depending on SAG-AFTRA strike. I don't even know if that one's finished filming or not. Our roll call here, the director, Justin Simien, previously best known for his series and movie, Dear White People, the TV series 2014, and the movie 2014, and the series started in 2017 of the same name, as well as a movie called Bad Hair. The writer here, Katie Dippold, previously a TV writer, having written 54 episodes with Mad TV, and then another 31 episodes of Parks and Rec. She also wrote the films The Heat. She wrote alongside Paul Feig the much maligned 2016 Ghostbusters. And then more recently, she wrote Snatched and here Haunted Mansion. Our cast of characters, Lakeith Stanfield playing Ben Mathias, having done stuff like Selma, long-running at Atlanta, the Donald Glover show Atlanta. He was Snoop Dogg in Straight Outta Compton. He's in Get Out. He was in the Netflix Death Note. Sorry to Bother You. He was in Knives Out.
Sorry to Bother You, so good.
Judas and the Black Messiah. Sorry. Haunted Mansion here, and then after Haunted Mansion this year, he was in The Book of Clarence as well as The Changeling. Rosario Dawson here, who we talked about a couple weeks ago on Ahsoka. She is here as Gabby. So pulling from Ahsoka, she was in Josie and the Pussycats, Men in Black 2, Shattered Glass, Sin City, Rent, Daredevil, and the MCU verse of Netflix. On the video game front, she's been in Dishonored 2 and Dying Light 2. She was
that's right, she is
Lego Batman movie, and of course the Mando series with Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and now Ahsoka. And here she was in Haunted Mansion as well. Owen Wilson as Father Kent, having done stuff like Armageddon, Shanghai Noon and Nights, Zoolander, The Royal Tenenbaums, and then many a Wes Anderson film, Wedding Crashers, the Cars franchise for Pixar, Night at the Museum, and then now he is Mobius in Loki, as well as Haunted Mansion here. Tiffany Haddish playing Harriet, having done films like Keanu, Girls Trip, and Night School. She was also in the Lego Movie 2, the second part, and Like a Boss. And then she was in a favorite of Logan's and mine, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. She's been in the Apple Plus series, The After Party, and here she is in Haunted Mansion. Danny DeVito as Bruce Davis, going all the way back to his work on Taxi back in the 70s, but then films like Throw Mama from the Train, Twins, Batman Returns, Matilda, Hercules, Big Fish. He's in the 2019 live-action Dumbo, Jumanji: The Next Level, and of course he's been in the long-running series, very long-running series, like I want to say like 17 seasons and counting. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah. Here he is here in Haunted Mansion. Jamie Lee Curtis as Madame Leoto, of course known for her work on the Halloween franchise, as well as films like Trading Places, True Lies, Freaky Friday. She was Jess Day's mother in the New Girl series. She also was in Knives Out, and then she won an Academy Award for Everything Everywhere All at Once last year. Up sometime in the future, she will eventually be in the Borderlands movie, whenever that eventually comes out.
I don't think it is.
I mean, I can't imagine they're going to scrap it, but yeah, it's definitely going to be a while, seemingly. Chase Dillon playing young Travis here. Pretty extensive little career, considering he's only been doing it for like 4 years so far. But he was in the First Wives Club series. He was young Michael Che in the That Damn Michael Che series. He's in the Underground Railroad, The Harder They Fall, and The Haunted Mansion here. And then he was also in the film The Book of Clarence alongside Lakeith Stanfield. One of the weird castings of the year, Jared Leto is in here as Crump and the Hatbox Ghost.
Oh, that's who that is?
Yep. Not that you'd know it. I mean, like you can see him in like the live action portraits and stuff like that in the flashbacks. But yeah,
I didn't even catch that. That's
he's
so
also
funny.
the Hatbox Ghost, just under either a whole bunch of CGI or makeup. But of course, Jared Leto known from stuff like 30 Seconds to Mars as music, but Requiem for a Dream, Dallas Buyers Club, Suicide Squad, and recently it was Morbin time, and he was in Morbius.
Morbin.
And then last one I pulled in here of the kind of core cast, Charity Jordan as Alyssa, having also been in Selma, The Underground Railroad, and now Haunted Mansion. She also has had a recurring character stint on the Wonder Years that's been going on for the last couple of years. The new Wonder Years series that features like Dule Hill and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few random little cameos / like just other bits. If you were like, hey, one of those carols at the beginning of the movie looks very familiar, you were probably thinking of Mary Lou Henner, who also was alongside Danny DeVito in Taxi back in the day. She was one of the carol tourists. Hassan Minhaj playing the sketch artist, of course known from The Daily Show and The Patriot Act. Winona Ryder in an uncredited cameo as Pat, the bed and breakfast tour guide. Of course, from many a thing, but probably most relatable to this, things like Beetlejuice and Stranger Things. And then Dan Levy, not uncredited, but the other bed and breakfast guide, Vic. Of course.
Dan Levy? That's so funny.
That's so Levy. I didn't even realize that was Dan Levy. That's awesome.
From Schitt's Creek, yep. Some trivia here. Some of this was fun because I basically just kind of like got to pull in my own fun trivia on this one. But the Gracie Manor is modeled after the Disneyland Haunted Mansion's exterior, and it is named for Imagineer Yale Gracie, while the Crump Manor is modeled after the Walt Disney World version of the Haunted Mansion and is named for Imagineer Raleigh Crump. Gracie's contributions to the original Haunted Mansion were a lot of the magic trick things and the comedy elements of the ride, while Raleigh Crump contributed to the scarier elements and the spookier vibe of it. The two of them very much kind of had a like not competitive, but like how is this going to work kind of butting of the heads a little bit in terms of like do we want this ride to be spooky or do we want it to be fun? And they both ultimately get their way. And so you kind of get the weird mix of that ride that is part spooky, part goofy.
Where is
Huh?
the Haunted Mansion at in Disneyland?
In
'Cause
Disneyland?
we didn't go to Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, we did. Probably did. It's in New Orleans
We
Square.
didn't ride it.
Did we not?
No, it was shut
Oh,
down.
it may have been shut down.
It was shut
may have
down.
been like they may have been on Nightmare Before Christmasing it. So it was probably closed
no, because we
while
went
we were there.
We went in January.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying is they were taking
Oh,
that
that's
down
right. Yeah,
and,
they were taking
and restoring
down,
it to
yes.
the normal thing. So yeah,
That is, I think that was accurate. It was either that
Yeah.
there was a couple of things that were shut down for repair.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we probably because it was we were there early January, and basically Halloween through Christmas every year they throw a skin over it that is Nightmare Before Christmasified, and so it was probably being kind of undone as we were
I don't know.
leaving. But yeah, it was
I haven't
over
ridden
by
the Disney. You can go.
I was gonna say it was over by like Pirates of the Caribbean, basically between Pirates of the Caribbean and Splash Mountain, on that path. So yeah, we may have like walked by it or something.
Yeah.
The many other nods to the ride, including the chair in which Harriet is seated during the séance, on which she is later expelled from the mansion, is designed very much inspired by the Doom buggies, the ride vehicles of the Haunted Mansion ride. Vic, the co-host at Crump Manor, as noted above, played by Dan Levy, can briefly be heard playing the "It's a Small World" theme on the piano, as the captain seafaring ghost is kind of like guiding through. You can hear kind of in the background like "It's a Small World" playing. At the Crump Manor, the velvet rope and stanchion adorned by a metal bat is identical to the ones used in the Haunted Mansion ride queue. Due to the actors' strike, this came out like I think a day or two after the actors' strike started.
And that's a big factor of the box office.
Yeah, certainly. But due to the actors' strike, Disney did not have any of the stars at their premiere. They had instead popular characters from their theme parks, as well as other movies showing up on the red carpet for the premiere. Basically, all of the cast members at Disneyland out there, because actors would not be promoting any upcoming films or shows during the strike.
Yep. Also, scab influencers.
Sure.
That's right. That's true. They did. Yeah.
Yep.
The banishment spell that Harriet performs borrows from the ride's narration. When hinges creak in doorless chambers, blah, 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 blah. And then you have several aspects of the Haunted Mansion rides at Disney World and Disneyland that are represented in the film, including, but not limited to, the hitchhiking ghosts, the stretched out paintings, the dancing spirits in the dining room, the dueling portraits, among other things. However, notably, no singing busts. But even the 3D busts of like "It Follows You" kind of are very much pulled from the rides. There's my trivia for this one. What did everybody think? Cameron, let's throw it to you first. What did you think of Haunted Mansion?
I really liked it. I don't think it was like a fantastic movie. I feel like it was super serviceable, but I really think that it's funny. The weakness of this film is like the film itself. The actors really bring what otherwise is kind of like very flat material to life in very good ways. The kind of I love the idea of like kind of like the deception of like, hey, before you walk in, like,
this might change your life.
This might change your life. I love that callback at the end. There's a lot of things in plot wise that were a little janky, especially in regards to the kid. But overall, I felt like I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Lakeith Stanfield?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lakeith Stanfield is just fantastic. I've really appreciated him and loved him in everything he's ever been in. Anything that I've ever seen him in. Sorry to Bother You is like an all-time great film. He's the one redeemable part of him and Willem Dafoe are the two redeemable parts of the Death Note movie. Overall, I just think he's fantastic, and Rosario Dawson does what she does best, which is just slide into a character and just is there. Owen Wilson, great. Like the entire cast is just great top to bottom. but it just like it never like they do their best to like elevate what I think is otherwise very flat material into being an entertaining movie. But other than that, like it's like there's really nothing else to write home about it.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Logan?
I really liked it. I think that, like Cameron just said, Lakeith Stanfield's fantastic. I think Rosario Dawson's really good. I think Dan DeVito's really great and kind of underrated. One of the things that I find interesting when comparing it to like the original like 2003 Eddie Murphy version is I think how much more emotionally deep and intelligent and thoughtful this one is. And like sort of exploring like grief in a way that the other one, I mean, that wasn't a theme at all. And here it is sort of the main theme. Like I just think like the moments that Lakeith Stanfield's character has, like Tiffany Haddish's character, right, where they each kind of share like their traumas, like her losing her dad and obviously him losing his wife, and then obviously the son with his father dying, and again him and his wife, and just like those moments of just like grief overwhelming us were like way more mature and I think well handled than I expected at all. And I think this movie's fun. I think I agree with Cameron to the degree that while I don't think the story is like as flat and plain as I think Cameron does, I agree wholeheartedly that the performances absolutely carry it to like a whole other level and a whole other degree. I think they're really good. And I think for me, the story really comes together in the last act where you finally kind of just see a lot of the seeds that have been planted come together. I think the first act takes quite a while to get going, and is pretty easily, in my mind, the weakest part of the movie. I mean, it's probably 35 minutes before you have everyone together at the mansion, and even then we're still taking more time to kind of really hit the ground running. But once they do, and once kind of everyone gets back together, I think it really works. Cameron didn't touch on him, so I'll give a huge shout out to Owen Wilson, who I think is so Owen Wilson-y in this movie.
Oh, he's the most Owen Wilson in this movie. It's ridiculous.
I love it as someone who, I mean, we're all at the same age. We're like, we just grew up with Owen Wilson. And so like, I absolutely love Owen Wilson. I have a very soft spot in my heart for him. And I think he just has a ton of fun with the character. I also like the idea that I think you're sort of set up to believe, because the movie sort of explicitly says that Tiffany Haddish's character is like a fake and a fraud. And the fact that like she actually is really powerful, and Owen Wilson's character is actually not a priest, is like a fun kind of subversion of what you like usually get in these things. And then even how like his arc resolved itself, I think was really cool and like very funny and tongue in cheek. And, you know, he's been ordained now. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. You know, I think it surpassed what limited expectations I had, and I had a blast with this. This would be a movie that I would easily watch like again and again and again come like Halloween time.
Yeah, I agree. I think I went in like not expecting like a bad movie, but I didn't expect anything like really of note kind of thing. And so when this ended up being like a very, I think, heartfelt story about grief kind of thing, I was like, oh, that was a pleasant surprise. Real quick to your Owen Wilson-ness, there is one of the trivia things I didn't pull, but early on, like the twist on Father Kent is foreshadowed.
Oh yeah,
where he says one man's monster is another man's Halloween costume. Obviously, himself wearing a Halloween costume in that moment.
Right.
For me, it was when he said, "I'll say some morning prayers," and like, it's not, he goes, "Not in Rome," and it's like.
I mean, I don't think that's foreshadowing so much as just like, you know, playing the character bit, but yeah, like I mean, very much agree in that the story itself I mean, again, like this is very much a story targeted to a younger audience, more so than us, certainly. But I do think it like the performances elevate that otherwise pretty straightforward story, like especially Lakeith Stanfield, who yeah, like much like Cameron, like anytime I see him pop up in something, I'm like, oh, like he puts his all into his performances and he picks very interesting projects to work on. So that like anytime he pops up, I'm like, okay, like this is going to be interesting. I didn't know he was like going to be the main character of the movie because all the marketing was around Rosario Dawson's character and you know the ghosts and stuff like that, so, or made it very much like, oh, this will be like an ensemble thing. And so like when it is very much like, oh no, this is like his movie and an ensemble around him, I was like, oh, cool. I very much like walked away from the movie enjoying it and thinking, you know, obviously they were going to get hit by the actors strike regardless of when they decided to release it this year. But I couldn't help but think releasing it in July was just the wrong time for it. Like, I feel like this would probably be doing very well right now. Maybe not last weekend with the Eras Tour movie, but like if this had come out, you know, like a month ago or something, it'd be going up against the very R-rated, like Nun 2, Exorcist 3 or whatever, like all the like extra spooky Halloween things that are, you know, out there trying to make a little buck on kind of the season. And I think this would have been like a good family friendly opportunity. So it's weird that like they put it out in July, I guess, so they could have it on Disney Plus for October, but it's like, you're not making money off of it then.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, so it'd be an interesting thought experiment to see like, oh, what would that have been? How would it have done better? You know, this time of year. But yeah, like overall, there was a lot of fun in there and a lot of things where like I've got a smile on my face because I'm seeing the ride and all the references as like the, you know, extreme Disney fanboy that I am, specifically the extreme Disneyland fanboy that I am, and knowing what I know about the history of the ride and the Imagineers. So like even like hearing, you know, the names Gacy and Crump kind of come up. Oh, cool. Like they made this for that kind of fan. Like it's very much the opposite of Halloween Town, Return to Halloween Town like they made it for the audience that is me. And you know, the Disneyland super fans and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, even with the touch of the gravestones from the ride underneath the Crump Mansion. Well, I saw it was like I was looking through reading those and I paused and I was like reading all of them. Like, man, that's so cool that they put all of that together for that. Just there's a lot of love and fan service for the ride in this movie. Yeah, for sure.
And there were some things where it was like I thought they did a cool job of like elevating it in a way that like only the movie could do. Like the example in particular that I'm thinking of is like the stretched portraits, not just being the room is stretching and the portraits are stretching, but also like the things in those stretched portraits are becoming the, you know, the scary thing on the room. So it's, you know, they're famously, there's like one of them that's like a guy sitting on dynamite. And so there's just now a whole bunch of TNT barrels in the room. There's an alligator in there. There's quicksand. Like it's all of the ways that those portraits become like, oh, here's the, you know, macabreness of what's going on there. They just turned those into the things that that Ben and Travis needed to like flee from as they climb, and then you get kind of the fun little like that the ceiling's not really the ceiling, which is also a nod to the ride itself. So yeah, like all of those were just fun little like extras, and then yeah, for it to also have this nice heartfelt kind of story about people processing their grief and trying to get through this and needing kind of a found family to do it, I thought was really cool. One of the things I really found myself appreciating like halfway through the movie, I agree, I think like it's a little slow to start as it kind of like puts all the pieces in place, but I did appreciate that in doing so, it doesn't like... you don't just get locked in. As soon as you go to the haunted mansion, you're not just stuck there. You can still
Yeah.
leave. You're just gonna also have a ghost there haunting you, kind of thing. The hitchhiker ghost kind of thing. I
Love
thought
it.
that was like a fun conceit to let us not be confined in that one space for the entire movie, and let us kind of leave and go and go to the other manor and kind of like do whatever detective work we need to do there. Let us go. Obviously, like, we find out Owen Wilson's character is kind of the first one that kind of went there, and so he has taken advantage of that to go get Keith's character, and like even the like, Bruce has a heart condition. No, you cannot go to the house.
Yeah.
Like they're fine bringing anybody else into it, but like they don't want to kill this man. Love that. And then like there, I mean, other little bits where like the movie kind of lets you, if like the lore of the ride or whatever, you kind of get to be like one step ahead of, okay, they make a point of 66 inhabitants have died tragically, over the course of blah, blah, blah. And then Madame Leota being like 933 people, like he brought 933 spirits. And the thing about the Haunted Mansion is there's 999 ghosts, but there's always room for one more.
So good.
So that being like the whole thing that I get that, like, that's a thing that goes right over your head,
It's
Logan,
cool, but it's a cool touch. I like. Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have that's like really clever.
It's such a great piece. Man, there's so many great, like, I was really excited to hear what you had to say, Trevor, about this movie, because so I didn't want to like spoil anything about the ride, but I think the ride inclusions are one of the things that do make this movie a lot better.
Yeah.
If you do have a love for that
even
ride.
Incredibly obscure things. So like the Hatbox Ghost has become like the most famous thing because it was very famously like on the ride for like the first week, and then the illusion didn't work the way they wanted it to because they tested it in like different lighting, and so like the idea was like, okay, the lights will change and you'll see the head on the person's head, and then other times you'll see the head in the box, but like very famously, the lighting didn't work great in the actual ride, and so you could kind of see both faces in both places the whole time, like, and they would just kind of light up. And so it was like this mystery and this like urban legend for years of like, no, there used to be a Hatbox Ghost in there, and like, people would tell tall tales of like what happened to it and stuff like that, and then like one of the more modern Imagineers brought it back with using some like, digital trickery and stuff like that, and kind of brought the Hatbox Ghost back into the ride some 40 years later or whatever. Actually, I guess, it would have been, it was probably earlier this century. So like 20 years ago, maybe. And so like super diehard fans were super excited about that. But even like at one point, a ghost kind of possesses a candle, and there's like another kind of like very niche like candle ghost Easter egg that that is specifically referencing, that's like one of Raleigh Crump's kind of like original designs that didn't really make it into the ride, but like is still like in a lot of the artwork about the ride and stuff like that, and now I believe can be found in like the Nightmare Before Christmas version of the ride. There's a small little candle like ghost that's like in that kind of design. So like even super deep cut things, they were like, we're going to throw this in here for this audience, for the audience that like really loves these kinds of things. It was very much like the Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing we were talking about earlier. Yeah. It's like, you can enjoy this movie even if you don't know all those deep cut things, but like if you know them, you're going to pop a little bit more. It's, in the same way that like, we probably all pop for things in Super Mario Brothers, and that was a very basic bland movie in terms of like its story and plot and whatever, but some performances like Jack Black's really elevated it and made it a fun, good time, and there were Easter eggs and references galore and stuff like that. So
even on the other end of the spectrum, right, like you can hop into Uncharted 4, right, and people do, and not have played 1, 2, or 3, but you're just going to get a way better experience out of that if you have played everything before it, right? And know all those things it's referenced in details and tiny little touches, and know that Naughty Dog also did Crash Bandicoot, right? For like that little Easter egg, right? And so, I think in the same vein, if you're able to kind of fully appreciate and just kind of get all the little Easter eggs and winks and tiny touches, because the candle's great. That's one of my favorite ghosts in the entire movie, is the little candle ghost who blows themselves out.
Yeah. So yeah, like this was a delightful thing. This was very much, if I was in any world, one of those people that was like, it's October, I love Halloween, so I'm going to watch a movie every day for Halloween. Like, this would easily be in the rotation there.
Yeah.
Alongside your Hocus Pocuses and stuff like that. But obviously I'm not that person. But this would very much be like a thing of like, oh, this would be a fun one to watch with the family or something like that.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a huge Halloween person, but if I were, this would easily be like a thing to throw on in the background and just have a good time, have a fun time with it.
I agree.
So yeah, good fun stuff there. Any other favorite moments or anything we want to shout out or give any love to?
I think the other thing I would say is just the little like fisherman ghost who follows Lakeith Stanfield's character around. Again, just kind of
love that he's always watching Deadliest Catch.
Yep, Deadliest Catch.
Yeah, but I also like there was like an element of like poignancy to even like that character arc that like just isn't found in the original one from 2003, right? Like him like just wanting, like all he wants is just to return to the sea. And like I found that like weird, like strangely beautiful, and like him getting to do that, right? And him not being like an evil spirit, but just a fisherman who wants to be on the ocean, right, to find peace, right? And I thought that was really nice. And I think that, again, I think they're just like a level of small touches and small details that lift this movie above what otherwise is just a plain generic, we're making a movie off of an amusement park ride, and I think give it like a level of like gravitas that it sort of doesn't deserve, but like has. And I think all the performances just lifted, even performances from people that don't make a noise and that you can't even see because they're ghosts, like still give it like moments of, I think, really beautiful.
What I think one of the things that I would add on to that is I really like the ending. I like the ending. It's not just like the ghosts are free. It's like literally like, no, we like being here. It's a party all the time, and it's it's a cool idea that like, oh yeah, no, like they were haunting. They were being, and it's funny because like they were being dicks because they didn't want people to stay there. But they were like tortured to force them to come back. Like the idea of like, don't actually be here because you might get killed. I enjoyed like there's a lot about it that I enjoyed in regards to the ending, and like just kind of like the kind of like at peace doesn't mean like, oh, they go off to the great beyond. Some of them have found their peace in the mansion. Yeah. And they're just living their best lives. And I just think that's super cool. Also, shout out to Owen Wilson's like red tracksuit at the end of the movie, but he's still wearing the priest hat. Hilarious. Yeah. I honestly just would have loved it if he also had like a big fat gold chain as well. Like he was doing like a Run DMC costume at that point. Because that's what that red tracksuit always reminds me of. The Adidas tracksuit. Also, shout out to also being the same kind of tracksuit that is worn in the Royal Tenenbaums
that's what I thought of. Yeah.
By Ben Stiller's kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's great. I love Owen Wilson.
The only other thing I have to, I guess, ask is, how did you guys feel about Tater Tot the cat as like a thing at the end? Did that work for you or did that not work for you?
I mean, I didn't see it coming that the thing's name was going to be Tater Tot, but it very much, like, it's, again, going back to, like, Dungeons and Dragons, it was that same kind of, like, here are the tropey beats that you have of, like, the wife taken before the time, the grieving husband, ready to let go, but still has, like, memories and like, in this version, ghost winks. I liked it as I liked it for the character in terms of like him putting the pieces together and having experienced the movie that he's experienced and having had those conversations, like putting together those dots and saying, maybe she was looking out for me. Maybe she is like here. She doesn't want me to wallow in this kind of thing. Right. And it allows him to move on and go, call on Rosario Dawson's character and kind of and we see like, oh, okay, there's the a next step there. The movie didn't need to be like big romantic, let's have them give a big, kiss scene kind of thing, but you very much get like they're now going to be a family unit. And I appreciate that for him, that is like the permission that he probably feels like he needs, having been so deep in the grief hole throughout the movie. So I liked it. I felt like maybe another beat or two in the movie where like the cat had been more of a presence as opposed to just like him being introduced in Owen Wilson's arms, and then or the cat being introduced in Owen Wilson's arms, and then maybe like I guess we see them like once more when the sea captain like ushers a wave out to. So like I think I had kind of forgotten about the cat by the time we get to the end of the movie, and so maybe like a reminder throughout, or that would have one more beat with the cat would have helped cement it a little bit better for me.
Yes,
I think. For me, my issue with the cat is that I think, so I agree with everything you said, and then I also think that, like, I go back and forth on, part of me is like, I would have wanted the cat to, definitely be in the thing more, even just like one or two other appearances, but also like, part of me is like, I wanted it to have been like more of an active presence, like maybe like grab his shirt or whatever as like a car walks by, something like that, like save his life, like she's watching out. But then part of me also is kind of like, well, I kind of like the interpretation of it's not confirmed that it is his wife. It could just be like him reading what he needs to for that moment.
Sure.
But I don't like the fact that the cat's name is Tater Tot.
That it has a name tag at all. Like is really
I would have rather the cat's name just been like Alyssa or has no name tag at all. But like Tater Tot, I like is like one from me just like, oh, I don't like that.
I was very much expecting it to be like the cat was named Alyssa, and so when it's like Tater Tot instead, I'm like, that's for the kids. Like that's a.
But it took like just enough out of it for me to be like, oh, I just would have rather had no name than.
Yeah, I mean, as we're talking about it, I think a more interesting choice would have been like he looks at the name tag, we don't see it, but he looks at it and smiles,
and then we
can kind of like put in our own head like, okay, is it Alyssa? Is it Tater Tot? Whatever. But maybe putting Tater Tot on it is it's very much trying to have its cake and eat it too. It's here's an emotional beat, but also we're going to undercut it a little bit with a not a great joke, just kind of a chuckle joke maybe, or just a smirk kind of joke. And like even on that front, it's like the only other like we got the other mentions of Tater Tot being like his real tragic, she went out for tater tots and didn't come home because she died. And then like on the drive home in the talking about the things in this movie, the product placement in this movie, very ridiculous, obviously. But when they're eating their Burger King, very product placement-y meal, and Owen Wilson makes the joke about like it being a tater tot or whatever, it's like, all right,
jalapeno poppers, right?
Like, oh my god, product placement in this movie was ridiculous. Talking Yankee Candles, she found the house on Zillow, all the
product placement
deals
was insane. The random Burger King one. Got some tater tots right here.
It's always
those
fun.
are my jalapeno poppers.
It's always fun when I can tell Cameron just hasn't been paying attention the last 30 seconds and then tunes in. Because we just talked about the whole Burger King sequence.
See, for me, it was interesting because
Sorry, I got a text. I was paying attention to it. Sorry.
It's okay.
The product placement is definitely there, but not in because my favorite example of product placement in any movie, I think maybe ever, is the Power Rangers movie. The one from 2017, which I think is just perfectly done. Like they that is like one of the few examples where like they get to have their cake and eat it too, in terms of like having product placement and then also skewering the product placement at the same time, and it's just a ton of fun. Like they have so much fun with it, and like poke fun at Krispy Kreme, and like here, the Zillow one actually like caught my eye, not for like a product placement, even just being in terms of being like, oh shit, that gets a weird like we just dated this right now. It's one of those like, ooh, how will that age in 15 years?
I mean, that's what a lot of them felt like for me. Like that again, the Yankee Candle reference. I mean, they're kind of, it's all over the place. It's like well, we're going to be spending most of the movie in a mansion, so how do we try and like make deals
Go to as many places. Yeah.
to reference and give people a little bit of like a nod throughout.
Get Pizza Hut delivery here. Pizza boxes in the background, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tons, man. Tons.
The other thing I want to kind of harp on, I will say, is like, again, like the fact that it's Jared Leto as like the villain in a completely like, that didn't need to be Jared Leto at all. That didn't need to be anybody of like note. And if it's going to be somebody of note, it should be way more a Johnny Depp, Captain Jack Sparrow kind of thing than whatever this was. Whereas like he's just kind of a mostly menacing voice for a lot of stuff, and then when he's not, and when he's like physically there, they've just made him look exactly like the ghost from the ride.
Yeah, it was
like
pointless.
there's no like it's just that design. So it was like such a weird call, and not in a way like, again, then they go into like flashbacks and we see like the history of Crump Manor and stuff like that, and Alistair Crump or whatever, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's very clearly Jared Leto in like the the old timey art that you're showing me, but like how does that morph into Hatbox Ghost guy that's menacing our characters here? It's just like such a, like, it would have, I think, been far, like the way to have made it more interesting, that's just like coming to my head now, would be like Travis's dad looked like him, and it was like, oh, a few generations removed, like somehow that's still that visage or that body is still kind of there or something like that. But like even that is like, oh, Travis is talking to his dad. Oh, his dad's been dead, the whole time. Again, like you can see it coming if you have seen movies and are an adult, but kids aren't, will be a little bit more surprised by that or something. And so like, yeah, it was just such a weird, baffling like Jared Leto-ness of it, and that's even kind of pulling aside my like, I'm not like Jared Leto famously likes to go super method. So I'm like, what was he doing here that was going super method about, being a tormenting ghost
Ripped
character?
His
kind of
skin
thing.
off. Yeah.
Just a weird choice that I don't think really like you get anything out of.
I agree.
But it also isn't like, oh, that's a fun cameo in the way that like Jamie Lee Curtis as Madame Leota.
Yep.
Fun little cameo that she
rider,
pops up. We get to see her, very, very much tied into the ride and all that stuff. And they just lucked out on the timing of her, having her career highlights in the last year or so. So yeah, it's just the Jared Leto-ness of this is a weird choice.
It's a weird choice. It's a weird touch. I don't care for it, but it also was not. It was not invasive enough with like Jared Leto's like domineering like nonsense.
Yeah, sure.
So,
yeah. Any other final thoughts or favorite things, least favorite things that we want to chat about before we dive into the report card?
Let's do it. Let's
All
do
right.
the grade book.
let's go.
Report card, we grade from A+ to F. What do we want to give Haunted Mansion 2023? Cameron, I'll throw it to you first. What do you want to give this one?
I give it a solid B-.
Okay, B-. Cool. Logan, how about you?
Yeah, I like that. I've been talked into it. A B- I think is also perfect. Right now I have it in between what Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, in terms of your like letterboxed for the
in
year?
terms of my like movies of the year list, and I sort of think that's perfect. I think it's I really liked Mario, maybe the most out of the three of us, but I think probably there's just more to this. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I had a much better time than I thought I would. I think it is a movie, again, like I said, that I would easily make like a yearly Halloween time watch. I think it's a blast.
Yeah, I wonder if this will find, like, it feels like it's the kind of movie that had it come out like 30 years ago, would have a Hocus Pocus like kind of cult following, except for the fact that like it doesn't have like, apart from Grim Grinning Ghosts, it doesn't really have like musical numbers and stuff like. I guess it had a little bit, like it plays a little bit with like New Orleans kind of jazz and stuff here and there.
I will say that just as a quick thing, I meant to talk about this. That's something I wanted to say. As someone who went to New Orleans for the very first time in February of this year, it is cool how much of this is actually shot in New Orleans, and how much even like the 3 days I was there, I was gonna be like, oh, I remember, like I know where that is, and I know where that is, and I know like how much it isn't just like a quick establishing shot of like New Orleans, and then like filmed in the back lot of LA. Like how much of like that first chunk of the movie, at the very least, is actually in New Orleans is like a really cool touch, and how like I think authentically New Orleans it sort of feels in a way that, again, to go back to the original one, just sort of felt like a generic southern place, but not necessarily like Louisiana or the Bayou. And the same way this one, I think, does a good job of establishing.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that and factor that in or anything, but yeah, like especially because like the like filmed in Georgia felt like in the credits felt like it came up way quicker than it usually does in a lot of like Disney things, because it's always like the big, you know, Georgia peach kind of thing. But yeah, like I definitely like that it had the flavor of we're setting this in New Orleans or outside New Orleans kind of thing. So yeah, I'm gonna I think unsurprisingly, given the, you know, my Disney love, I'm gonna bump it up a little bit higher, and it's probably a B or B plus for me.
I love it.
Because yeah, it's a solid enough movie on its own. It was a nice, pleasant surprise. You know, just kind of like a lot of Disney stuff these days, mismarketed, I think, and just mistimed. But yeah, it very much is like a movie that, like, much like the Jungle Book movie did it, or not the Jungle Book, the Jungle Cruise movie did a couple years back, is very much like, we're going to hit all of these beats that like fans of Disneyland and fans of Disney and the ride want in here, but we're also going to, you know, take it a step further, tell a different story. I think like Jungle Cruise didn't go like emotional heart with it in so much as they went way more into like, we're going to make a fun mummy type movie or a fun kind of, you know, Indiana Jones type movie. Whereas this one was like, okay, like doesn't make sense to do that kind of action with this. So let's, you know, have it be a little bit zany comedy stuff, have some fun ghost sequences, and then have fun, having like a nice little heartfelt story at its core. Including like, I mean, like I liked again, Lakeith Stanfield, like easily the standout here. I liked even just moments like, okay, Harriet's setting up the seance, and like I'm gonna go into it's gonna be a reverse seance. I'm gonna go into the ghost realm, but I need to be like really sad to do it. So I'm gonna, you know, try and be really sad, and without trying or anything, like Lakeith Stanfield's character just like drifts into it, because that's where he's at. That's his state of being, and I like that he ends up being kind of our gateway into that side of the world a little bit. So yeah, lots of fun stuff there. Extra credit if you do like this, Disney Plus will recommend stuff like Goosebumps, the series that almost was going to be one of our episodes this month, before we realized, oh wait, we've got the Simpsons Treehouse of
Didn't realize
Horror
it had
stuff.
Justin Long in it.
Huh? Yeah.
I didn't realize Justin Long was in it. Yeah.
Yep. We have the 2003 Haunted Mansion, and if you do decide to go and watch that,
which is still fun.
Yeah. If you do decide to watch that, it suffers because it came out the same time pretty much as Curse of the Black Pearl, so which blew everybody away. So it's not that.
But we had a nice time. We had a nice enough time when we watched Haunted Mansion.
It's a decent like back half of Eddie Murphy's career kind of thing. Yeah. And one where he's not trying to play 5 different characters.
Yep.
And also, if you do watch the 2003 Haunted Mansion, you can watch our That D Plus Show episode on it, episode 23. Another one of the recommendations is Behind the Attraction. And specifically, I will call out, if you want to know all of the nerdy Haunted Mansion things I know, you go watch episode 2 of Behind the Attraction that is focused specifically on Haunted Mansion. And I should say season 1, episode 2, because if you watch this in a couple weeks, there will be a season 2 of Behind the Attraction. That was episode 88 of that D Plus show. And then if you just like other Behind the Attraction things, I did solo episodes on 107, 116, and 132. Basically, anytime I went and did a Disney trip for a while there, I had those episodes in the can and ready to go while I was away. The next 2 things that are going to be recommended to you are like just kind of soundscape background things. And that's Haunted Mansion Enter If You Dare and Haunted Mansion Singing Wake. And it's just like ambiance kind of like not Christmas Yule log, but Christmas Yule log kind of stuff. Then you have Muppets Haunted Mansion, which again, we did Disney Plus episode 94, where Frank and I talked about that one. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. I don't know why they always push Dead Man's Chest instead of Curse of the Black Pearl.
It's the highest grossing one. They get the eyes on the prize.
Yeah. And that was Disney Plus episode 36 or 167. If you want kind of the pre-summer of Pirates season.
Was that our least favorite of all the Pirates movies?
I mean, apart from like the last one, I think.
Yeah.
I think
I'll check my letterbox, but you keep talking.
Yeah. I mean, it probably, I mean, none of them outside of the first one did really well.
First one's so good, though.
Yeah. And then lastly, in the extra credit, there is The Little Mermaid 2023 that it will recommend for you. Extracurriculars. Anybody watching anything else on Disney Plus this week?
Loki.
Yep. Cameron and I keeping up with Loki. How about you, Logan? Have you hopped into Loki at all?
Nope. But I can say that On Strangers tied the 4th one was apparently last.
That was our weakest. Interesting. I think that one was one like Cameron and I liked better than you did.
You did.
Yeah.
We basically switched. You guys didn't like 5 as much as I did, and I liked 4 less. We basically switched to those 2, but we each had Pirates 2 at number 4.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because you liked Blackbeard and I didn't, and I liked Javier Bardem's character. Not that you guys didn't, but yeah. Well, Cameron didn't. But,
well, I mean, I know I did like his character. That movie I just did not like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it worked for me.
I'm pulling up the Dead Men Tell No Tales to see like what our final rankings were. Yeah, Dead Man's Chest, our bottom of our barrel. It was our number 5 overall. Probably
because all of us had it at 4. Yeah.
Yeah. It was that Cameron and I liked On Strangers Tide, I think, a little bit better.
Yep.
We were all like, well, Dead Man's Chest is bad because it's just a 2-hour trailer for At World's End.
Like a 2-hour and 40-minute trailer. It was long.
Yeah. It was brutally long, and I never want to experience that movie ever again in my life.
Yeah. In addition to keeping up with Loki, I also sat down and watched the Once Upon a Studio animated short. It's like a 8 to 10 minute animated short, but it is very much short. It came out this last week as like a celebration of the actual 100th anniversary of the founding of the, at the time, like Walt Disney or the Disney Brothers Animation Studio or something like that. Walt Disney Animation. And it's a nice little, like, it's a live action thing that they shoot like around the halls of the Disney Animation Studios kind of thing. But it's like just littered with like, it's basically like, oh, the animators leave at the end of the night and all of the animations and from 100 years of Disney stuff, Disney and Pixar stuff come together and take like a big group photo, and a whole bunch of little things have their little moments. It very much ruffled some feathers, I think, a few months back because it was announced that like they were going to bring back Robin Williams for it kind of thing. And basically they used like unused lines from Aladdin recordings to like bring in a new Robin Williams bit as Genie kind of thing. But it was fun. I think the whole thing is done yeah, it is done with a lot of love and care, and it's fun seeing like certain characters get a little bit of love that like, oh, they probably like wouldn't have gotten otherwise, or like, you know, like kind of the overlooked eras and stuff like that getting like little moments to shine and little beats, and also a lot of fun little pairings and stuff. Like they had Moana, you know, paired up with Flounder for a bit or something like that. So yeah, lots of cute little again references to a century of Disney stuff. So yeah, go check out Once Upon a Studio. But yeah, other than that, that is going to do it for this week's episode of That D Plus Show. Thank you, everybody, for joining me for Haunted Mansion 2023. You can follow Logan at Lefty Logie, Logggy. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Logan?
I know that Trevor did a new Baldur's Gate episode that went live today. You should go check it out over on YouTube.
Yep. Indeed, youtube.com/thatnerdysite. You follow Cameron at RevCabot, 2 B's, 2 T's. Anything you want to shout out, Cam?
Yeah. I want to shout out the Baldur's Gate 3 Let's Plays that you just keep doing, Trevor. I
already said.
I think that was Logan saying very quietly he already said that.
Yeah, I did.
I know, but I wanted to say it too. I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, let's all just shower Trevor with
like
love.
I can't think of anything else.
I mean, yeah, the episode that went live today is like my end of Act 2.
Yeah,
so yeah,
it's I don't know what else to say. Like,
yeah, that's quite all right.
I guess I could have just said like the last episode of That Nerdy Site Show is good.
That's the thing I'm gonna plug is you follow me at Trevor J Starkey, and yeah, if you want to hear me rant about the horrible monetization of Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis on mobile devices,
Oh my God,
I do that for about 50 minutes, and
No.
I just kind of like break Cameron's brain a couple times in the tail end of that episode. Because they done trying to milk all of the money.
I can't, like, that's the thing. I'm like, there's something wrong with this. Like, I'm like, did we miss an episode? It's like, no. I like blacked out some of it.
You got to talk about Liza P for a little while, and then you blacked out for the rest of that
for 25 to 30 minutes, I get to talk about Liza P. I'll put that out. Like, Liza P, I got to talk about that for like 20 to 30 minutes. It's a great game. And then we spent the rest of our time talking about Ever Crisis, and I'm just flabbergasted by just how gross that game is.
Yeah. That said, they like, while we've been recording this, basically started doing a new seasonal event that's like their Halloween, and like you're gonna be fighting a pumpkin guy, and I think you can get Aerith wearing a chocobo costume as like one of the rewards and stuff like that. So they're just gonna keep doing that, and we'll see. But yes, go check out all that stuff, as well as we'll be back next week with Treehouse of Horror episodes 7, 8, and 9, as we continue our tradition of a trilogy of Treehouse of Horror episodes each year that we've been doing the last couple of years. So yeah,
one of my favorite things that me and Trevor have done.
Yeah, stay tuned for that next week as we wrap up our October Halloween 2023 month here on That D Plus Show, and then we got we'll have a few episodes to squeeze in for November, and then we got to start coming up with all of the Christmas things we're going to talk about in December. So yeah, stay tuned for all of that. You follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site, or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. Once again, if you like what you heard, please remember to like, rate, review, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, ring notification bells, all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining us. As always, stay nerdy, be good to each other, and class dismissed.